Hello, Lucas Nation fans and Lester fans. Welcome back to another exciting podcast. This is the Lucas Chat podcast with your host, Tairus Lester. Hopefully, you guys are ready for another exciting podcast. Of course, if you missed it, go back to the previous podcast. Of course, it's the Lucas Chat podcast featuring yours truly, Kennedy Lucas. He talks about Charlotte. What a fantastic show. I've seen it myself. It's fantastic. Now, please be sure to be excited for the October 28th release season 1 premiere of The Millionaire Listing, which I play a character. I cannot wait for that show to be out and can't wait for the development of that show. Of course, season 1, let me just say, season 1 has been phenomenal to film and to voice act and to make. Of course, I, alongside with Kennedy, well, of course, I'm one of the other writers and makers of the show, of course, particularly in the writing fields. As we wrote such a great story for all of you all, for the Lucas and Lester Nation fans out there. Hopefully you guys are ready for the show because it's phenomenal. I've seen footage of the show. It's crazy. It's so crazy. Now, on to today's show. Of course, we're here to talk about the number 2 seed of Monthly Girls Nizaku. And of course, as an anime watcher as well, I had to invest into the show, and I really got to kind of watch the show a little bit, and so I can write my notes and write what I'm going to say on this podcast. Of course, this show is one of the most funniest shows that I've seen in years in terms of anime. Of course, as you know, we talked about earlier this week with Kennedy. He talked about Charlotte being the sad, emotional type of show. This show here is completely different. It's out of this field. It's completely different from all the other anime shows out there. Is from the hit show. It's a romantic comedy. Let's just say that, and it's tremendously funny. It's really funny. Now, seeing the show, of course, the intro. We always got to break it down here on the Lucas Chat podcast here at K.L.P. Entertainment. The intro was phenomenal. I do like the intro soundtrack. I do have that soundtrack on my iPod right now because I think it was. I think it's funny. It's hilarious. Having that song on my iPod, I was jamming out to it the other day. I do like, even though it's Japanese, I do like the beat of the song. I do like the rhythm, and I do like the little guitar that's playing into the song. Of course, seeing the intro, of course, you got the love connection between the two characters, and it's just so sweet. Of course, you got this real muscular big guy, and you got this small, frail girl. So it makes me wonder, how do they get it on like that? You know, if they ever were to, like, you know, he must be giving it good, you know. So within the show, of course, we have a list of producers, and we have a list of organizers and a list of producers. Of course, the genre is a romantic comedy. Of course, it was written by, again, me and Kennedy. We cannot pronounce these names correctly, but we're going to try Azumi Tsubaki. If I pronounce it, that actually sounds pretty good right there. Azumi Tsubaki, of course, is one of the writers of the show. Of course, it was published by Square Enix. I was very surprised to see about Square Enix. Square Enix is a video game animation company, of course. Let me think of a couple of. I can't really remember games. They published a lot of video games for that company. I'm trying to think. Was Splinter Cell, was that one of the games that they published? Now we got to do some digging because now it has me wondering. Of course, you know, it's a video game company. Oh, okay. So we're getting it now here on our live feed here. It is Tomb Raider, Hitman, and Deus Ex, of course, was the main games that Square Enix produced and made. So I knew that was familiar. I'm more familiar with Tomb Raider and Hitman. Oh, and Thief. We're getting that Thief was one of the producers. Of course, I'm familiar with Thief. Thief is a very fun game. But anyway, of course, the English publishers was the Yen Press. Of course, it was published on magazines from Gangnam Online. The runtime they made it was 2011. Of course, K.L.P. Entertainment was watching and reviewing it as of September and October of 2016. Of course, it was produced by Frontier Works. Frontier Works is one of the episode developers. Of course, it was directed by Mitsu Yamazaki, and of course produced by, oh god, um, Gikan Shoujo Nozaki Kun Production Committee. Of course, they had their own committee. Committees for anime is really good because it lets them know that their fans want to see a big team, and to see that a committee makes an anime show is very fantastic because there's a lot of people going into this. Of course, when we made Millionaire Listing, of course, it wasn't a huge committee, but it was a great work by several people and writers. So, of course, the studio was K.L.P. That's a new anime studio to me. I haven't really seen so much of that anime studio. Of course, it was licensed by Sentai Filmworks and MVM Films. Of course, Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun is an ongoing Japanese 4-panel romantic comedy webcomic written and illustrated by Izumi Tsubaki. Its chapters are serialized in Gangnam Online, have been published in both physical and digital releases of Shoujo Romance Girly. The Taikumbon volumes of Square Enix, of course, very surprised that Square Enix had a piece of the pie of the show. An anime television series adapted by Doga Kobo began to air of July 2014. As of 2016, K.L.P Entertainment is reviewing it. Of course, the plot is a high school student, Chiyo Sakura, has a crush on his schoolmate, again, his name, Yumitaro Nozaki. Of course, they go by the last name in the shows. But when she confesses her love to him, he mistakes her for a fan and gives her an autograph. When she says that she always wanted to be with him, he invites her to his house and has her helping on some drawings. So she's like a little, almost like a side chick, but not so much of a side chick because he only needs her for work. So Chiyo discovers that Nozaki is actually a renowned shoujo manga artist named Sakiko Yamano. She then agrees to be his assistant in order to get closer to him. As they work on his manga, Let's Fall in Love, of course, they rename it Let's Have a Romance. Of course, there's different names for it. They encounter other schoolmates who assist them and serve as inspiration of characters into the story. So this show is like your really cutesy, kind of romantic, try to get to the romance and comedy style anime. Let's get down to the color again. The color is fantastic, and we're not just saying that with every show, because I do remember doing a podcast where we talked about the worst anime, and of course we're going to do another series of that coming real soon. I think me and Kennedy are going to be both on the podcast for that, the worst anime as of what we've seen thus far. But the color for this show is very fantastic. It makes sense. You know, this is one of those shows that makes sense, and you really can like relate. You really can enjoy the show. There has been multiple animes out there that I've seen that just doesn't make sense, and they just needed the money to just do something, produce a show, and have it out. But in particular, in difference of this show here, this show is completely different. This show is still ongoing, so we're still reviewing it. We're still watching it more. I don't know if they're going to fall in love. Hopefully they fall in love. In every anime, sometimes that the ending of an anime always ends in a good result. So I think they're going to fall in love. I think they're going to like each other, and I think they're going to get close as we go towards the end of this show. Soundtrack was very fantastic, and the characters were very good. The dialogue was very good as well. There's been multiple anime shows where the dialogue hasn't been that great, but seeing it now is fantastic. Of course, as Kennedy mentioned in the last podcast, is they're trying to advocate more different voice actors. They're trying to advocate more of a new voice actor. Of course, we do have a list. Again, I think our server is still down. Of course, we do have a veteran here. Plays Yui Kajima, played by Monica Rial. Of course, Monica Rial, there's just so many good animes that she played in. There's just so many that there's just none, you can't name them because there's just so many. Off the back, let's see, Monica Rial, okay, we got Shuffle. Let's see, we've got AKB 0048. We got that her. She's in there. I think she was in Dragon Art Academy as well. And that's just a few I can name off the bat. Let's see if we can get her record pulled here, because she's been in so many she's been in. And she also been in real life movies too. So, that's pretty good. Of course, we have a list here, and some of these shows that I don't remember. Of course, Rumbling Hearts I do remember watching. Air, I do remember her in that show. Shuffle, I mentioned before. Dragon Ball Z Kai, she played Bulma, and I think she plays Bulma in the newer movies too, if I'm not mistaken. Rosary Plus Vampire, I think that was the second show that I heard her voice in. Of course, Shuffle, we give a lot of props for Shuffle, because I do remember seeing Shuffle. I think Kennedy was saying that Shuffle was his first anime that he's seen coming into the anime world. Of course, Kokoro Connect in 2013. I remember seeing the show. I think we did a podcast over that show as well. Love Shinibio and Other Delusions. And we even have a 2016 list. And some of these shows that I've seen, we did start watching Love Live Sunshine. It's still in review mode, but we just now watched it. Of course, she also played in Dragon Ball Z Battle of God and Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F. So we hope to see her in more movies, hope to see her in more shows. Of course, we did also advocate the Show by Rock mini-series, short series that we start watching as well. I don't know if we're going to do a podcast over that, because those are shorts. They're like 3-minute shows, so I don't think we're going to ever advocate for that as well. But like I do say, guys, again, please go out and see Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun. Of course, you can go to the K.L.P network over at www.lucasmetaphor.wings.com. Splash K.L.P.E, type that in, go to K.L.P network, and click the anime button. You click that, and you see our proud sponsor for our website for anime watching and reviewing, so you guys can see and join our panel. Of course, we are advocating on that panel, so that anime site, Just Odds Anime, also has like an anime feed panel where people comment, people say what's on their mind, they share it on their Twitter, they share it on their Facebook, so please join the panel. It's so much fun. Me and Kennedy we both do it, and it's phenomenal. I love it. I love interacting with people. I love talking to other anime fans out there, and we get to talking, get to reviewing, and it's a fun communicative way to get to know other anime fans out there, and get to know what animes they like and they actually do enjoy. I do try to get more into the mech anime, but I like the romance comedy type of anime, and I think Kennedy, he just likes the sad, make you want to cry, stuff like that. But it's one of those romance comedies that you're gonna love and enjoy. That will do it for the Lucas Chat podcast with your host, truly, of course, Tairus Lester. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this podcast. Please be sure to check out all the links in the description below. Of course, if you're watching this on SoundCloud.com, thank you for watching. Well, thank you for listening. For that website, again, you go to SoundCloud.com, type in K.L.P Entertainment. You see all of our latest podcasts and soundtracks we publish on that site. Of course, if you're watching it on YouTube and Daily Motion, that's fantastic. You guys can see and hear what we're doing. And, of course, if you're watching it on the website, that is super fantastic, because I am the executive for the podcast shows and for the podcast website. So hopefully you guys enjoy this site, fully updated, and it's really, really awesome site. Please be sure to follow us all of our social media accounts, because we are we're bringing the A game here for K.L.P Entertainment. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this podcast. Please, if you haven't watched it, click the previous podcast over Luke's Chat Podcast, as Kennedy talks about Charlotte. Is a fantastic show, and all part of Podcast Weekend this weekend. As right now, I'm Tairus Lester, logging out.